Mater misericordiae, vita lucero, espes nostra salve. Patre nobis.
I grew up without any religious background. My parents also grew up without any religious background. My parents grew up in the 40s and 50s when the country was still Christian, and they absorbed a lot of that. And so very moral, good, beautiful marriage, committed to each other, very loving to me and my brother, but didn't have a religious foundation to offer us. By the time I went to college, I considered myself atheist. I didn't think that was particularly rebellious. I just thought nobody seriously believed in God. I went to Penn State to study computer science. I started with a lot of credits, so I was able to do their integrated undergraduate-graduate program and get a bachelor's and master's at the same time, basically. The summer after my freshman year, a total stranger came up to me and started talking to me, and then eventually invited me to study the Bible with him one-on-one. And I kind of thought, not on your life, man. But when he asked, I also thought, well, I want to be open and I can give him a shot and see how it goes. And I thought I'd straighten him out about science and we'd move on our way. I fundamentally judged and condemned people that did Bible studies. And so I found myself in a strange situation of not liking what I was doing and yet being attracted to continue on. After about a year, 9-10 months of meeting with him basically weekly, we moved to the Gospel of John, and when I read the prologue of John, a lot of things fell into place for me. Enough to say, I'm gonna make an act of faith. I'm gonna move forward with this. I'm going to really pursue Christianity. I had gone to Mass maybe a half a dozen times at that point, but when I read John 6, I on my own made the connection with what was happening at Mass when Catholics, the priest was saying, take this all of you and eat of it, for this is my body. As an interesting side note, the very first time I went to Mass was with a girl I had started dating earlier in my freshman year, and the very first Mass we went to was celebrated by Archabbey Douglas, who eventually received me as a novice here at St. Vincent and received my vows and was the abbot to whom I made a vow of obedience. God clearly had a plan that was only beginning to unfold for me. The next year I did a study abroad in Germany, and that had actually delayed my entrance into the faith. I knew I would be away over Easter, and normally Catholics receive the sacraments at Easter, and so I delayed RCIA until returning from Germany. But during that semester in Germany, I had studied German, I minored in German, so I spoke German well enough. But taking graduate level classes in math and computer science taught in German was a degree more than I was quite ready for, and then being 6,000 miles away from home was a little more challenging for me. For the first time I cried out to God for help, and I asked for some specific things. I had some connection with this University Bible Fellowship there, really wanted to connect with them, didn't have the money for the train ticket. The money appeared in my bank account. Didn't know how to complete the work for the classes even to start with, and found one of the answers in a book in the library, figured out some things from there, ended up with the most eloquent proof in the class and was asked to demonstrate it to them. And really for the first time could say, this wasn't me. I had made my own way for my whole life, but for the first time was pushed to my limits, cried out to God, and really found His providence in my life. Well, I had the chance in Germany also to go to Mass with John Paul II. He came to Berlin to beatify. I came back from Germany and went into RCIA, and by the time I received the sacraments at Easter at Penn State in Schwab Auditorium, I really had a desire to become a priest, give my life to the Lord, dedicate myself to serving in the Catholic Church, to share the gift of prayer. All of that was very strong. And the director of campus ministry at the time, Father Fred, was a monk from here and brought me on my first vocation visit the weekend after Easter. So 5 days after I was baptized, or 6 days, I came to St. Vincent. When I first was invited to visit St. Vincent, because I felt this deep calling to share the gift of prayer, which in my mind had also become evangelization, which is not exactly what had come, but it got a little morphed, as things can do as they live in us for a bit. I thought monasticism is not really what I'm called to. I agreed to come just to visit and experience it. What I found was a very warm and loving community, very engaged in sharing a lot of gifts in the college, in the seminary, and parish apostolates. What I have come to realize in being here is the stability is both important for me and challenging for me. The relationships are beautiful, and again bring out the best in me and also the worst in me, and help me to grow. I started St. Vincent with a class of 6. I'm the only one left. That was part of the challenge of the stages of formation. The real challenge for me is confronting my own ego and my own pride. Being challenged to love people that are hard for me to love, not because they are hard to love, but they're hard for me to love, is certainly a challenge. At the same time, being loved by and supported by some of the monks has been a tremendous gift. I think we excel at hospitality here. It's a Benedictine value, but it really is deeply enmeshed in the fabric of St. Vincent, and I think we spread to our employees and the college and the seminary and parishes. It really infuses a lot of those spaces. My favorite part of being a monk is the opportunity to continue to learn and grow. That having the community of men and the opportunities for study, writing, learning, sharing, the challenge of living that out, the opportunity to form it in others, that whole dynamic of learning and growth is something that I delight in and thrive at, and just have tremendous opportunity for in this place in particular. This life doesn't matter without our relationship with God. And to really make that, to place that in the central position in our life. If we're not doing this for love of Him, then none of it's worth it. For men who would be thinking about monastic life, to really place their relationship with Christ first, and that's very harmonious with St. Benedict's own teaching, to love Christ, to cherish Christ above all. And as we learn to do that, then everything else becomes possible. The successes and the failures, the delights and disappointments, the joys and the sorrows, the hopes and the lost hopes, all of these things become meaningful when it's for Him and from Him and through Him. It's infinitely rich, but it all goes off the rails if Christ is not really in the center. So I think it's so important to establish that, live out that first fervor, fall in love with Him more, and allow that to be the guiding light.